Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. I am very pleased to welcome our honored guest this evening. She is a local book author, dual board certified dermatologist, and menopause specialist. Thank you so much, Dr. Barr, for being here.
It's my pleasure. All right, are we ready to get started? Awesome. So the title of tonight's talk is Move Over SPF, Meet Your New Sun Protective BFFs, a somatic approach to skincare. So let's dive in. And I know that, well, let's see if I can make my slides work. So I know that some of you, it's 5 o'clock, you might have been rushing in from wherever you are. And I just wanted to take a moment just to have us arrive here together. If you're tired, if you're feeling anxious or, not feeling quite settled, all of that is welcome as we settle into our space together. And the questions that we're going to be answering tonight are, why do you need a new BFF? The truth about skincare, and who your new BFFs should be. So, as Elizabeth mentioned, my background is I'm a dual board certified integrative dermatologist. Over the years, I've definitely done a lot of skill stacking, really diving deep into mind-body medicine, a lot of different somatic modalities, somatic trauma therapy. I have a podcast, a Skinny Dipping Prescription podcast, that has an episode dropping tomorrow. So I invite you to take a listen. And as Elizabeth mentioned, I wrote a book called The Skin Whisperer, which really is my North Star for why I'm so passionate about sun protection. It's really based on my own story and creating skin resilience. And I'll be sharing that a little bit too. And obviously living in the Pacific Northwest, I'm a big fan of coffee, chocolate, all things home design. So I would imagine this is probably what you've been told about sun protection, that you need sunscreen SPF 30 or above. You need to reapply it every couple of hours, about a shot glass size amount for your body, quarter size amount for your face, sun protective clothing, wearing a broad brim hat, sunglasses, and seeking shade, right? Good stuff. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught about sun protection was wrong, right? Like that we are focusing on the wrong problem, that it isn't about the sunscreen that you're using. It's about the fact that your skin is a window to your nervous system. Your skin is embryologically linked to your brain, so the two are talking to each other constantly. And your skin has its very own HPA axis. And if you don't know what that is, it's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And you have a central, HPA axis in your brain. Your skin has its very own. And these are the mechanisms that activate your stress response. So what all this means, the link between your brain and your skin having its very own stress response system, is that your skin is both a source and a target of your stress response, and it reflects the state of your nervous system. And if your nervous system is regulated, your chances of having healthy, youthful, and resilient skin is exponentially greater. Unfortunately, I learned that lesson the hard way. I always say we teach best what we need to learn the most. And I certainly wasn't aware of the importance of regulating my nervous system. This is a picture of me about 11 years ago, and it was right before my health started to unravel. I was running ultra marathons. I thought I was doing everything right. As you can see, I am wearing a hat. I am wearing sunglasses. I was wearing sunscreen. I'm wearing sun protective arm sleeves. But I'm smiling in this picture, but really I was in chronic pain. I was having gut issues. I was having trouble sleeping, and my skin was starting to change. I was having new and changing pigmented lesions. I was requiring biopsies every couple of months until there was one spot on my arm that was diagnosed as early melanoma. And that was the wake-up call for me, that how I was thinking, what I was doing, wasn't actually supporting my health. It was sabotaging it. all the running, the overworking, not taking time to slow down was completely dysregulating my nervous system. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to go all the way back. You're getting a sneak preview of what's to come. Okay. So now we're back on track. So as my health fell apart and I began my healing journey, I really started connecting the dots that it was stress that was the driving force behind all of my health issues. And the skin cancer was the most outward manifestation. So the impact of stress on my skin was creating a lot of anxiety and worry for me, and all my thoughts and beliefs about who I was being, who I should be. That created more stress, and it went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it wasn't until I really began to incorporate what I now call somatic skincare that really brought my attention to what was happening beneath the surface, right? Our soma is our body. Somatic is our lived experience through our body. And so with mindfulness, meditation, movement, other practices that really helped create a felt sense of safety and offered resources for support, I gained a certainty in my capacity to better cope with whatever curveballs life was throwing my way. And I get it. Like, I know that our stories are different and I'm not unique, but experiencing overwhelming stress is something I think a lot of us can relate to. Let's make sure I don't jump ahead like a gajillion slides. Let's see. So let's talk about stress. Upwards of 90% of all doctor's visits are for stress-related issues. Skin issues are the #1 reason people go to the doctor. And skin cancer is the most prevalent cancer in the United States. There are more new cases of skin cancer combined than all other cancers. And I think it gets overlooked because oftentimes it's a quick surgery, doesn't require most of the time radiation or things, but skin cancer is the most prevalent cancer in the United States. And I would imagine even without these statistics from your own lived experience, you can probably relate to how stress has played a role in your life and how it's made you feel good, bad, or impacted your health negatively or, positively. And what this means is that stress is intimately connected to skin disease and skin cancer, right? Because as I mentioned, the skin and the brain are embryologically linked. They are talking together between each other all the time. So when we're stressed, it's not just a top-down process, right? The HPA axis is releasing inflammatory signals and hormones throughout the body, and your skin has its very own HPA axis, which contributes to that inflammatory bath. So if you're open to it, I'd love to do a little exploration. I know we have kind of a small crowd, but I'd love it if you're game. If it doesn't feel right for you, don't worry about it. But if you are, I want to invite you to think about a situation or an event that has been stressful or challenging for you. And before you pick like worst case scenario, I want you to choose something that has a little bit of charge to it, but on a scale of 1 to 10, a 4 or a 5 out of 10, right? Not worst case scenario, but something that, comes to mind, a situation, a conversation, an event that was a little challenging or stressful for you. I just want you to take a moment and just notice the words or the sounds or the images that come forth as you put yourself back in that place of that memory. Okay. And now I just want you to notice, what is the response in your body from bringing this situation to mind? Notice any tension, any thoughts, any sensations. Just notice what you notice, okay? And now I want to invite you to get comfortable. If that means moving off your chair to another place or grabbing a pillow, I just want to invite you to get just a little bit more comfortable. And once you're settled in, just want you to feel your feet on the ground and feel the support of the surface beneath you. Feeling the support on your legs, feeling the support on your hips, your pelvis, your low back, your middle back. Feeling that support in your upper back and your shoulders, your neck, your arms, the back of your head. Just see if you can invite yourself to just receive that support. Your top of your head, allowing that support to flow to your brow, soften your jaw. And now I want you to imagine that at the top of your head, there is a golden light. And that golden light is beginning to flow from the top of your head over your brow, flowing to your jaw and loosening it. That warm golden light flowing through your neck, into your shoulders, your arms. Warm golden light flowing to your fingertips. As that warm light flows and you're continuing to be supported by the surface beneath you, that light is flowing to your chest, to your belly, to your hips, bathing your legs with warmth and light, your calves, and down to your feet. It's as if your entire body is bathing in this warm golden light. And as an extension of this practice, if it feels right for you, I invite you just to add in a little bit of gentle movement. Maybe it's a rocking side to side or swaying back and forth. As you continue to be supported by the surface and the light is flowing with a little gentle movement, I want you to bring your attention to any sounds that you notice in your room. Sounds that might be near or far away. And then I'll invite you to just take another breath. And when it feels right for you, if your eyes have been closed, you can gently open them, but I don't want you to look right at the screen right away. Just open your eyes and just look around your space, looking at any objects and colors and textures, maybe to the sides of you, above you, in front of you. I even invite you to look behind you because oftentimes we feel like there's something at our back, right? So just knowing that in this moment, you're okay. All right. And when you're ready, you can always look back at the screen. Welcome back. And now I want you to notice what might feel different from when you had that memory to right now after the practice. And I would love if you want to pop it in the chat or just unmute yourself, what you might have noticed after that practice.
I had experienced a lot of tension at the first half of the activity, and then now I just feel very relaxed and centered. That
Yeah,
was wonderful. Thank you.
you're welcome. Sometimes we need a shift to even notice, like, just, I guess, a contrast to notice that there's been a shift, right? Because most of us, I know myself, like, I wake up with my shoulders by my ears a lot of times. And it's not until I take some time to slow things down that I realize, oh, okay, I can settle down a little bit. And I'll name that doing these practices isn't always about feeling relaxed, right? It's about restoration. It's about bringing our nervous system kind of back into a semblance of balance. So I love the fact that you noticed that there was tension and then feeling more relaxed. Did anyone else want to share before I move on? It's okay if you don't. Not to put you on the spot. Um, but it's important just for your own experience, just to notice, right? Notice, just bringing increased awareness. So let's see. Oh, so I just want to kind of dive into a little bit of like what was happening physiologically, in that exercise. So I want to just start by saying that not all stress is bad. Stress is actually a normal adaptive behavior. It's a normal response we want to have. We need our stress response for survival. And all stress really is getting us ready to take some sort of action. Right? So the issue isn't that our stress response is activated, it's our response to it. It's how we respond that can create some challenges. So when things are going all right, I'm not sure if some of you may be familiar with Dr. Dan Siegel's like he calls it window of tolerance, window of capacity. I don't really love tolerance because like you can pretty much tolerate things that are crappy or whatever. So I don't really want to tolerate crap. So capacity feels a little bit better in my nervous system. So, when we are at, something comes our way, we get an email, someone says something or whatever, our nervous system, where our stress response is activated most of the time, like me giving this lecture, I was a little bit nervous, getting prepared is a little stressful. But I felt I had enough time, space, and support that I could be activated, but ride this wave and then be able to come back down, right? I was able to be present enough, feel grounded, that I could be engaged and alert. I could be open and curious, feel enough safeness, and I could regulate, right? So this is my stress resilience, and I'm able to stay within this window. These are the kinds of things we think about with what we call eustress, like events that can be a little activating, but we don't mind them, like planning a vacation, going on vacation, our kids graduating, things like that, right? But it's a different situation when there are painful life experiences or things that are just too overwhelming for us to process and integrate. And we don't feel a sense of safety. A lot of times stress happens because we don't feel a sense of safety in our environment or within ourselves. We don't have enough support, or we feel uncertain, right? When we don't know what's going to happen, that can create a lot of dis-ease. And so what can happen is that we start, we're activated, we're starting riding our wave, but then it can be too much coming at us too fast, too soon, or it can be too little support for too long, right? So we can go into our fight, flight, or freeze response up here, or kind of our flop or drop down here, and we can get stuck there. If we don't have enough support, we don't have the resources, we don't know how to regulate ourselves to complete our stress response cycle, we can get stuck here. And this is where trauma happens, right? Trauma isn't the event, it's what happens inside of us after that event, right? What doesn't get to happen. We can't complete that stress response cycle. And unfortunately, in our current culture, there are too many people that are crossing these tipping points too often, and we can kind of get stuck, right? We're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or we're shut down and feeling numb and burned out. So how does stress affect your skin, right? That's why you're here. You're trying to, right? We're going to connect the dots. Well, when it comes to UV exposure and skin cancer, right? Skin cancer is the number one cancer, and we know that UV damage is a big contributor. Chronic stress decreases our ability to repair the damage that UV has done. So when there's chronic activation of the stress response cycle, elevated levels of cortisol can disrupt our body's rhythm, the circadian rhythm. And why that's important is at night, you want your cortisol levels to go down so melatonin can go up. We generate melatonin when we sleep, right? Melatonin is one of the most potent antioxidants that the body makes that helps repair DNA damage from UV exposure. So if that cortisol levels staying high, we're not able to generate enough melatonin consistently to help repair damage. Not only that, elevated levels of stress hormones inhibit genes that promote tumor formation. Stress hormones like adrenaline, so cortisol and adrenaline are the two big stress hormones that are generated with the stress response. It has been found that adrenaline binds to receptors on cells that can enhance tumor cell migration, invasion, and growth. We also know that the stress response activates inflammation in the body and can contribute to tumor growth and progression. Not only that, what they found is that increased stress hormone production can weaken your immune system. And if you've been diagnosed with something like melanoma, which is the most deadly skin cancer, it can interfere with your response to treatment, right? So dysregulation of the nervous system is kind of a big deal. And for those of you who like data, right, this isn't just, I'm just saying it just to say it. Studies have been shown that chronic stress and adverse childhood events, trauma, right, stored trauma in our bodies can contribute to all types of skin cancer, basal cell, squamous cell, and melanoma. Which means the way we think about sun protection needs an upgrade. Yes, you need the sunscreen. Yes, you need all the protection, but we need to go beyond the surface, right? Because sun protection is more than SPF. Sun protection and skincare in general is about relationships, right? Your relationships that help regulate the nervous system, right? It's our relationship to what's here in this moment, the relationship between our bodies, our brains, our behaviors, our beliefs about ourselves, right? And we've tried to think better about how to care for and treat our skin with pills and products, and those can be helpful, right? I am not anti-sunscreen at all. This is not an either or. This is a both and strategy for protecting your skin, right? But to truly care for your skin, it doesn't come from thinking about it, and it doesn't come from a bottle, right? It lives and breathes in our relationship with our bodies. Our bodies have a form of wisdom that's different than our thinking brain, and that can't be soothed by applying products alone, right? That wisdom that's stored in our bodies, right? Our bodies are soma. It holds the sum total of our history, your adaptations, your practices, your resiliencies, and it creates the story. Remember in that diagram, there was stress, there was our skin story. And that story influences how your skin looks, how it feels, and how you feel in it, which means that skincare is really the embodiment of your lived experience, right? It impacts your self-concept, your self-esteem, and your self-image. But here's the good news. We can do something about it. If we're going to upgrade the status quo of skincare, we start with relationships. And one of the most powerful relationships is between your brain and your skin, right? I mentioned that they are intimately connected and they're communicating all the time. And an example of this, like, I don't know, right before speaking, my pits were a little sweaty, my palms were a little sweaty. I don't know if anyone experiences that, or before you speak, you might get flushed. That is that bidirectional communication in action, right? So there's this relationship between our minds, our bodies, and our skin. Everything is connected. This concept of somatic unity, right? Soma, body, everything is connected. And our bodies are also in relationship with our environment, and they're sending messages to the brain in the form of sensations. And when we know how to interpret these messages and trust their innate wisdom, they serve as a reliable source of truth. Our body can sense and inform our desire to say yes or no to any given situation. And we were born knowing how to decode these messages. But there's a tension that exists between our basic need for connection, being visible and seen, and our need for safety and survival. And when we perceive that life experiences are too overwhelming and threatening to our safety, and not just to our physical safety, right? It could be a threat to who we are, to what we say, what we do, what we think, what we care about, right? Like if you have, what you dream for and someone's like, well, that's stupid, right? Like that can really shake us up. We may engage in habits, coping strategies that prioritize our survival, right? We respond with our fight, flight, or freeze responses, and how that might look in practicality is we numb out by scrolling on social media, or we buffer our discomfort with alcohol or food. And the casualty of all of that is a disconnection from our own body and that source of inner knowing, right? It disrupts this somatic unity. So what stress can do is it ruptures our relationship between our mind and our body, and it disconnects us from ourselves. And sometimes that's more of a soulful split, right? Like soul goes one way, mind goes another, body goes another. The bottom line is there's a fragmentation. It can happen within a person, but it also can happen in interpersonal relationships. I mean, consider the impact, what the impact of stress could be on relationships, right? When it comes to skin health specifically, stress can be a contributing factor to all skin diseases, skin cancer in particular, because that's our topic today. But it also can result from being diagnosed with skin cancer. That's very stressful. Or living with a chronic skin or hair condition like alopecia or vitiligo or acne, right? Especially in a society that measures our worthiness and value based on our aesthetic. How our skin looks and feels can impact our desire and our ability to be intimate and make connections. So stress can break us apart individually, but it also can break us apart in relationships. And that has a much bigger impact on our society and our world at large, which is why I feel that sharing this work is so, so important. So when it comes to sun protection and skincare in general, like we need to consider the factors that contribute to stress that impact our outside appearance and what we might see. But we also need to consider and attend to the impact on the inside, how we feel living in the skin of ours. Like on the surface, right? There's wrinkles, there's hair loss, there's dry, irritated skin, signs of skin cancer, actinic keratosis, or skin cancer itself. And beneath the surface, there may be anxiety, depression, irritability, and overwhelm. Your state, the state of your nervous system, tells your story, right? And it all comes back to relationships. The relationship between our stress response, the story that our skin is telling by what's showing up on it, how we're feeling in it, and being able to repair the ruptures that have occurred in our somatic unity and in our mind-body relationship. So how can we repair these relationships that regulate our nervous system? Well, I want to introduce you to your 3 BFFs. Connecting to your body, connecting in community, and connecting to your heart. So the first is connecting to your body. How do you do that, right? So when we talk about connecting to your body, there's a term used, embodiment. And really that is just bringing your attention and your awareness to the experience of physical sensations, emotions, and movement impulses that are happening for you in the present moment. You did that during that exercise that we did together. Your body has all these sensory feedback systems to help you know where it is in relationship to your environment and to yourself. There's a term exteroception, right? Which is the bridge between you and the outside world. That's why I invited you to use your sense of sound, right? To tune into those sounds. interoception, what's going on inside your body, right? Hunger, thirst, maybe the tension or the nerve energy that you feel, or a buzzing that you might have felt when we were recalling the memory. And proprioception, right, is your body's ability to sense its movement and location in space, right? That's why I invited you to do a little gentle rocking or swaying. So you did all of these things, right? You've already connected to your body tonight. And all of this does is it increases our somatic awareness, right? That mind-body awareness, somatic awareness, that ability to observe, to be present with, to sense and feel our moment-to-moment experience. So what are additional ways that you can connect to your body? These are just some examples. These are all the types of practices that I teach my clients to help regulate their nervous system and discover the glow of inner calm. And I'll name that you can do all of these practices on your own, and having a consistent practice on your own is really important. But there's substantial research on the benefits of exploring these embodiment and somatic practices in a more structured format of programming in a community setting. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I created my somatic skincare group program based on this research and my own personal experience of going through so many of these programs and really feeling that connection. Because here's our biologic truth. We are wired for connection. We wish for it, we wait for it. And I just invite you to, notice, like, how does the need for connection land in your own system? And I consider myself a bit of an introvert, but there are times like when I am open to engaging, I am so energized and nourished by connection. And it doesn't always have to be connection with a human, right? That's why I think pets have become such a large part of our families, right? It's the connection to something outside of ourselves. The challenge, right, is that stress creates a chronic disruption of connection, a disconnection from our inner knowing, this disruption of our somatic unity, and also disconnection from those that we love and those that are around us. So why is connection so important? When you look at the research, 3 out of 5 Americans are lonely, right? A third of adults worldwide experience feelings of loneliness. Loneliness is actually considered an epidemic. But when people are socially connected and have stable and supportive relationships, they make healthier choices. They have better health outcomes. They're better able to cope with stress, anxiety, and depression. Positive social support increases stress resilience. It increases that window of capacity so you can ride those waves of activation with more ease. And being in community also triggers your body to release hormones that create a sense of calm and good feeling. The benefits and the power of doing these practices in groups are, I think, infinite, but some of the top that always are brought forward in research is improvement of sleep. And we know how important sleep is. Beauty sleep is real, right? Especially with repairing UV damage to generate that melatonin. Cortisol also, by the way, destroys collagen. So all the anti-aging serums, those can be, somewhat helpful, but the best anti-aging, and I hate that term, strategy is regulation of your nervous system so that your cortisol isn't chomping on your collagen. But doing these practices improves mental health, reduces anxiety, improves your mood, lowers stress, memory, clarity. And again, this isn't just woo-woo just because I said so. When they've done the research, looking at physiological markers of stress, doing these practices has decreased primary stress hormone cortisol, decreases blood pressure, heart rate, and inflammatory markers that are known to be associated with many different diseases, not just skin diseases, but chronic diseases, autoimmune diseases, and cardiac. So the third BFF I'd love for you to bring into your inner circle is connecting to your heart. So some of you may be familiar with heart rate variability, and if you're not, that's okay. Really all that it is, it's a measurement of the variation in time between your heartbeats. And what that measurement really gives us information about is how regulated or dysregulated your nervous system is. It really is a snapshot into how your body is balancing the two branches of your autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic, fight or flight, or parasympathetic, what we consider like our rest and digest response. And so the general rule is the higher your heart rate variability, it's associated with better sleep quality, ease, calm, mental clarity, better physical performance. It's your parasympathetic response is more, online, right? So it's kind of, if you're familiar with Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory, you'd actually be more in like the ventral vagal, that social connection range. Low heart rate variability is linked to higher levels of stress, early mortality, and inflammation. So how does connecting to our heart reduce stress? Well, the HeartMath Institute, this is where these images come from. They really looking at emotions and how it impacts our heart rate variability. So when we're stressed, when we're anxious, when we're frustrated, there's a very irregular pattern of the distance between our heartbeats. Very, very little space. So low, that translates to low heart rate variability. But positive emotions like appreciation and love and care, much more regular, what we call a coherent pattern, and it's associated with higher heart rate variability, right? Why I'm even bringing this up is because of the research that is related to heart rate variability, coherence, and cancer. What they have found is that improved heart rate variability or higher heart rate variability and coherence helps restore autonomic health, helps regulate your nervous system, and it reduces symptoms of fatigue, depression, stress, and pain in cancer patients. What I found really mind-blowing is that you can use heart rate variability as a non-invasive tool to evaluate prognosis in cancer patients, right? Higher heart rate variability had a better prognosis. So what heart rate variability coherence can offer us is insight into how your behavior, your environment, your thoughts, your emotions, and feelings are impacting your bodily functions, right? If you think about that diagram, it was the impact of stress, then our thoughts and behaviors, our skin story, and then the somatic practices would be things that increase your heart rate variability. And it goes back and forth. It can expand our window and improve kind of the whole triad. Mine is on my charger, but if you have a wearable, I wear an Oura ring, which tracks my heart rate variability, and it amazes me. Listen, I do this work because I need it. My heart rate variability isn't always very high, but when I do a breathwork session or a meditation, and I look at my heart rate variability at the beginning, and literally it could be a 5-minute meditation, I can go from like a 50 to 150. Now, granted, it doesn't always stay there, but there are simple and quick ways that if you're doing things throughout the day, you can continually keep your system more regulated. So how do you increase your heart rate variability? All the skills that I was mentioning that I teach all my clients that are in somatic skincare program, like various forms of meditation and mindfulness and breath work. And by doing so, by using these practices, increasing your heart rate variability, we know it's going to decrease cortisol levels. It helps increase your attention, your focus, your productivity, your sense of calm and your happiness, decreases stress, improves decision-making, right? None of this brain fog or stuck in indecision or analysis paralysis. And it improves our stress resilience so that we can handle the environmental stressors that are coming at us from air pollution and sun exposure and all the other stressors, right? But especially for sun protection, you need significant stress resilience. So what was interesting too in the study showed that the benefits of heart rate variability coherence, significant drops in depression, fatigue, anxiety, improving a sense of calm, improving our sleep and our ability to focus, right? These practices I'm sharing with regards to sun protection, But this is not limited just to skincare, right? This has a ripple effect into every other aspect of your life. This changes the way you not only think about and feel in your skin, but it helps you change the way you feel navigating your life in every way. So I thought, as we wind down the presentation, that we could take an opportunity to raise our heart rate variability together. So I'm going to invite you to just take a few breaths with me, but we're going to inhale through our nose. And as we exhale through our mouth, we're going to have an extra long exhale, right? So you take a breath in through your nose, and then exhale through your mouth with an extra long exhale. And do that again. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth with an extra long exhale. I invite you to do that one more time. I just felt my whole system just like settle. And what's beautiful is like your breath is with you all the time, right? You don't have to add anything to your to-do list. We can use our breath. This is why I love being a breathwork facilitator, because we can use our breath to calm us down, but we can also use it to energize us. There are different techniques that you can use when you're feeling a little bit low. So your breath is with you all the time. I really invite you to test this out, try it out. Put it in your toolbox as one of your BFFs. So I hope you've gotten the big takeaway that you need a few more BFFs in your sun protection toolkit. And that if your nervous system is regulated, your chances of having healthy, youthful, and resilient skin, and just feeling overall a sense of well-being and wellness, sleeping better, improved mood, it's exponentially greater. And so if this resonated with you, if you wanted to explore ways to help regulate your nervous system, I'd love to chat. This is a code that links to my calendar that you can schedule a call at your convenience. And I also have a few resources available that are free. This skincare quiz will really help you determine if your skincare routine needs an upgrade. And spoiler alert, I think by now you know that it's not going to be what, brand of foundation or moisturizer you're using. We're really looking at how regulated is your nervous system and a lot of good tips to help you. Well, again, Skinny Dipping Prescription podcast on all the platforms that you listen to, with an episode dropping tomorrow. And the timing is perfect because it's an episode I interviewed my colleague all about the biology of trauma. So it'll reinforce a lot of what we talked about today. And with that, I welcome questions or comments. And if anything comes up after the fact, feel free to reach out to me by email or find me on social. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barr. That was a fabulous presentation, as always. And I had no idea that there was, 75 to 90% of people
Going to the doctor for stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we underestimate. We think, so much. And how often is your doctor offering you any resources or tools, or like, you should manage your stress, but they don't tell you how. And that's part of why, I stepped away from practicing traditional medicine, because I didn't want to just write prescriptions anymore. For me, for my own health, like, I know that managing and regulating my nervous system is really important. I'll be fully transparent. I'll take off my glasses. If you can see, my eye is all red and inflamed. That is my skin and my body talking to me that I have not been slowing down. I have not been walking my walk in the last couple of weeks. I've been pushing really hard, been doing a lot of things. And my skin was like, nah, this is a herpetic outbreak. And herpes virus lives in the nerve root. And if there's a big stressor, sometimes it's UV exposure, sometimes it's emotional stress, it can be different things. It comes to the surface. Well, isn't this interesting that it came, and especially around my eye? I haven't had this experience in like almost 10 years. And again, if you're into kind of going a little bit deeper, like, what am I not seeing? What is my perspective on things? How do I need to change, right? So all of this is just an invitation to what one of my mentors says is me search, right? We talk about research, but it's me search. What is happening in my life, in my environment, that is creating a little unrest? And now your skin is talking to you. And that's what the Skin Whisperer was all about. It was your skin and your body are talking to you all the time. The wish is that you listen to those messages when they're just a whisper. This is uncomfortable, but it's a bit of a whisper. Cancer, that's a shout. We don't want to be deaf to it for it to get to that point. So I always invite you to think of your skin as not, something to be covered up, or when something shows up to be like, oh, my skin is sabotaging me. This is awful. It's like your skin is actually your greatest ally. It's a window to your nervous system. It's a window to what's happening beneath the surface. It's information and an invitation to take better care of yourself, right? We put the care back in skincare. It's more than just the products. So I feel like babbling on long enough, but I feel really strong. I just think it's like so apropos. Like, I'm not saying this is not a one and done. I do this and I've got it all figured out. No, this is why I do this, because this is evidence of what's really happening.
I loved how your, like you mentioned, your book, things will come up as a whisper. And I feel that in today's society, we're we're used to listening to other people telling us what's going on with our body, and we've lost that innate um, inner voice. And I I have also dealt with skin issues this year, and I had to clear a lot of things off my plate. And once I started to do that and take time for myself and slow down, everything started to clear up quite a bit. And I'm still not all the way, cleared up from the psoriasis, but I I now know what those triggers are, and like what you were saying, finding a community um, to support one another, and we can all learn and grow together.
Totally. I think, I found it so helpful. Like, I've got my individual therapist, but then, I have groups that I'm part of, and I've done so much of my mind body training in groups. That's why I'm so, excited to have created the group program, because healing happens in a collective, right? We're here because we're interested in and might have like-minded, but maybe your significant other or your family, they don't see things the way that you do, and it can feel really isolating, especially if you're on your health journey trying to make changes and not everyone is on board. Having a group of people that are on the same journey as you are can be incredibly nourishing and makes you feel less alone. And we know that loneliness is a big deal for our own healing. So,
Definitely.
yeah,
And I just thank you for being a part of our online platform. And we're connecting with the community and helping one another with all of our healing journeys. And you are just so inspiring, Dr. Barr. I am I'm so excited to listen to that new episode. And you throw down new episodes like probably about twice a
bi-weekly. Yeah, twice a month.
fabulous.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
thanks
folks,
everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. And definitely check out Dr. Barr's website. There's a lot of really great information on there. And thanks for tuning in.